Hey everyone, Doug Bender from Diestat.com, and we are cruising up on the 20th Nike Cross Nationals this Saturday at Glendevere Golf Course. Of course, you can watch all that on runnerspace, and it'll be followed by the USATF Cross Country Championships in the same spot. Super excited to be joined by the great Elise Gusman, the 2013 champion, the last champion at Portland Meadows, the winner of what we all thought at the time was like the greatest high school girls race of all time, because there was three amazing champions that if any of the three of them won, no one would really been that surprised, because Sarah Baxter had already won the event twice. Elise Cranny at that time seemed like the greatest thing to ever come out of Colorado, and Alexa, only a junior in that year in 2014, was the best runner that we'd ever seen come out of Washington. And so she came over the river from Camas to go to that meet that day, and super cold, icy day at Portland Meadows. And it was quite a show. And within a year of that race, Alexa had turned pro. You had one more track season for Camas where you broke the national record in the 1600 meters, and then by next fall you couldn't even do high school cross country anymore because you had already signed pro. Alexa, thank you so much for giving me a little of your time. 12 years down the road, you were in three NXNs. You went from 14th as a freshman to 4th to winning it. What does that event mean to you? When you reflect back on it, what did that big race in 2013 mean to you?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. I love talking to you. I feel like we've known each other for so
It's
long.
been a long time.
Um, yeah, so I when I look back on all the NXNs from freshman year to junior year, I hold such fond memories because it was just so great. The whole experience, the whole weekend, especially as a high schooler, like Nike does such an amazing job to really make you feel like superstars. And that race in 2013, I really feel like it sort of propelled my career into signing pro because following that race, I ran in Millrose. I had a really great outdoor track season. I ran in a Diamond League, and which ultimately ended up helping me sign my contract that following summer. So it really was the starting point for really jump starting, I guess, that part of my career.
Yeah, it was like a launching pad for you. And then you were a professional track and field athlete for what was it, 7 years, 8 years?
Eight
Eight
years, yeah.
years. Wow. And traveled around the world, ran in China and all kinds of different places, all through Europe. Yeah, and that race in some ways was a bit of a springboard. Now you'd done a lot of great things up even before then. You were on the U.S. team that was at the U20s in Eugene in 14. Actually, that was
Yep.
after that NXN meet, wasn't it? Uh,
Yeah, because I signed at that meet. I
oh,
signed at World Juniors. Yeah, but I was on World Youth, which we were in
that's
Ukraine.
right. That had happened
Hmm.
beforehand. Yeah, that was really one of the races that put you on the radar in a way, like, oh my gosh, look what's going on at Camas High School with this young
Hmm.
runner. Okay, yeah. Um, you came from a very athletic family. Your mother was in Ironman triathlons, I believe, right? When you were growing up, I'm sure the idea of being out and being so active and pushing yourself and your limits, like that was second nature to you, probably.
Yeah, it was really normalized. And I think the discussions around mental strength and determination and grit were just part of normal conversations, which I'm sure had an influence on me, one that I didn't really know about. And so to have those um, role models, my mom growing up, I think really helped me sort of put into perspective what having even athletic goals really looked like.
Yeah. The work that you're doing now, you're a registered dietitian with all kinds of knowledge and information. In fact, anyone watching this should automatically just go check out Alexa's Instagram, because she's posting pearls of wisdom every day about having the right mentality, knowing how to fuel yourself, all of that. What do you wish you knew at 17 that you know now?
I look back when I was in high school and I was just everything seemed so light and so freeing, and I just had so much belief in myself. And as I got older, I started to get in my head more. I started to think about body image and weight. And so if I were talking to 17-year-old Alexa who really hadn't faced any of those struggles yet, I'd just say, just like keep doing what you're doing. To try and change your body is going to do more harm than good. To try and underfuel and to lose weight is just going to hurt your performance and your mental well-being. It's difficult because if I had talked to my 20-year-old self and say like, hey, these are going to be long-term health damaging effects, I don't like athletes don't necessarily care about their long-term health. What they do care about is their immediate performance. And so just trying to educate young Alexa and younger athletes that both your performance now and your long-term health, mental and physical, will be hurt if we try to
Yeah,
underfuel.
yeah. Professional track is such a it's a brutal profession to be in because the constant demands on your body to be at your best all the time has got to be just it's got to be grueling. But growing up as a teenager, Alexa was a phenomenal athlete who just wowed everybody with her performances. Do you mind if we take a look at some of the race at Portland Meadows in 2013? I've got it queued up
Yeah.
here. Let me see if I can pull that up. This is just, I don't even think we're halfway into the race, but I pulled it up. By this time, it's down to the three of you, okay? And we all know that
Okay.
you, Sarah Baxter, and Elise Cranny kind of like ran like shoulder to shoulder through a whole bunch of this race. Do you remember the stress or the strain of the build up to this race and how everyone had, depending on where you lived around the country, had a different opinion about who's going to win this because it's so competitive and the expectations were so high for an outstanding performance.
Yeah, I think I really just wanted to focus on upping my training, and so that's really what I did. But it was all in good fun. It wasn't stressful, it was exciting, it was you have this opportunity, so let's just try and make the most of training to get us ready for it.
Yeah, like these three young women could all be like they could all be on the Olympic team someday. Like they just seem like on a track that was higher than what we'd ever seen before. And there you go, all three of you just running off. Do you remember what it was like being shoulder to shoulder with them in that race and kind of wondering like, okay, who's gonna make a move? Am I gonna have to make a move? Like what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to race instinct. You always go in with an A plan and a B plan, and as you can see, I start to sort of fall off here, and so that was like A plan
Mm,
went out the window, and so um, it was more so just like you have to trust yourself, and I think that's a big piece of advice for runners is just trusting yourself when it comes to racing and knowing your strengths. Like the hills, those hills right there, huge strength of mine. If I was
mm,
5 meters back, I'd be 5 meters
mm. You like the
made
whoopie
up.
doos, huh? Yeah.
I really like the yeah.
Now you had extra time on this course because, of course, you back then you would run here twice a year because you were always going to that pre-nationals race in September.
Yeah.
Not quite as competitive, but you were at least on the course. And do you think that that was an advantage for you to be not only close to home, but also a little bit more familiar with the terrain?
Oh, absolutely. I remember practicing downhill running specifically for these whoop-de-doos. And so being able to know the course, knowing where the turns were, what to expect, was very much an advantage that I might not have really realized at the time. But looking back,
Yeah.
every perspective that you can take from the course is an advantage in itself.
In previous years, had you been part of one of those super muddy races that Portland Meadows was sort of known for?
The year before this, it was. so muddy.
Okay, okay. And that's, that could be discouraging, I would think, when you're not used to that. But this
Yeah.
particular day was so frosty cold. Do you remember that about it? That it was like, wow, this isn't going to be like the ground is going to be nice and hard. It's not going to suck your shoes off the way that it did in the mud, but it was pretty darn cold.
Yeah, it was super cold. And I think it actually, looking back, worked to my advantage that it wasn't super muddy and that it was a fast course. Because when it's super muddy, it's a completely different type of race at that point. So having it be this day that it was
Yeah.
really another advantage.
Now, I think we're a little bit closer toward the end. Um,
Hmm.
in moments like this where you might have fallen 5 meters behind, did you ever get discouraged that you couldn't close the gap and maybe you had a kick in your back pocket?
There was definitely some glimpses um of I'm not going to be able to do this, and a little bit of loss of belief, if you will. But there's a point, and I think it's probably after this like little downhill that I said, well, everyone tells you that you have a really good pick, so you might as well use it now. And that's when I just start to like turn over, and that was my thought going into probably right around there is
Right
when I
around
had
right
that, and I was
after the hay
like,
bales, it looks like.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, I might as well use this kick that everyone tells me that I have.
yeah. Well, we're about to watch it. It was such a like in the history of this meet, it's one of the all-time great moves. And I think this is the toward get we're getting toward the end, and here she comes. Look at who's in third there, and look how decisive that is. Just goes right past. How often in the last 12 years have you ever watched this race?
I've only watched it a handful of times, but I have used it in like presentations before. I'll basically show that last 2 minutes of the race, and it just shows how strong belief is and how if you put your mind to something, you're able to do what you want to do. And it's a reminder to myself really just to have unwavering confidence, which I think sometimes we can lose as we get
Absolutely.
older.
There you go. That was such an incredible moment in the history of this meet. But I'm so glad we got to watch that together and you could react to it. You didn't have a predetermined place to make your move. It sort of just seemed like it happened, but boy, when you started to accelerate, it was like game over. Um,
I know.
do you remember what was going through your mind when you just kept reeling them in like that, and then kind of like within a matter of maybe 10 steps, you're already past them and kind of like blowing the doors off of them?
I think when I knew if I was going to make a move, like make it decisive and don't let any opportunity to try and close it to open up. And I might have waited a bit too late to make my move, but I'm glad I didn't wait any longer. And yeah, that was definitely a highlight of my career, which is crazy because like I ran professional for 8 years, but it was a really
Yeah,
special
you would
race.
go on to have some great PRs and do some incredible things. But do you do you think that that might be like uh, your best? Not I'm not going to say your best race, but your most important race, maybe of your whole career.
I would say so in the sense that it gave me belief in who I was as a runner at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It made me believe in myself. It made me be more confident. It made me realize what hard training looks like and where it could really take me. So in that sense, yeah.
It made you a little bit, I mean, in the track community, it made you famous a bit as well. Like your name was like you became a household name in not only high school track and field, but the whole track world. Like in the aftermath of that event, where people wanted your autograph and things like that. Like, and then Milrose happened a few months later. What was that like to deal with at 17?
I mean, you just sort of, like shrug it off. You're just like, oh, yeah, I'll take a photo with you, or oh, yeah, I'll like sign this or something, you know? And it's cool that I got to experience all that. And I think that in many ways it was good. We were talking beforehand, but it was good that I didn't experience it in the height of social media because I think it could have turned like, I don't know, maybe I would be a bit more narcissistic or maybe I'd be a bit more arrogant. You know, there's a fine line in having attention and how you react to the attention.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so kids are getting on they're getting their suitcases packed. They're getting ready to go to the airport. They'll be landing in Portland and going out to the Nike campus on Thursday. What what sage advice do you have, especially for the girls that are all coming from all over the country? What sort of advice would you have to some of the athletes that are going to be flying out here and being in the part of this big event and not letting that like overwhelm them?
I'd say like all the work has been done and there's really nothing more that you can do. So just eat well, sleep as well as you can, and just have that unwavering belief in yourself when you get to the line because you never know what can happen. And even if there is little glimmers of doubt every once in a while, that's okay as long as you are able to overcome it.
You came back. I mean, you were with Nike. You came back to a lot of NXNs. Like you probably were holding
Mhm.
the tape. You were doing all kinds of chores around the course, like or just being there because everyone wanted to see you. But what was it like watching that as a spectator? You know, um, and having that role like, hey, I'm a former champion, but I'm here to watch these kids. Like you were going out to like the NXRs sometimes, I think probably at least a few times. Like, what did you like about watching the next waves of kids coming along?
Yeah, I think it's just like such a special time in your life, particularly cross country, because even as a pro, cross country is not nearly what it is in high school. And granted, I never got to experience it in college, but it's just like such a unique time in our lives that where you're on a team and you're racing like all these crazy courses, whereas track is like same thing every time. And so just like hoping that all the kids like sort of realize how cool this moment, this weekend, this race really
Yeah,
is.
savor it, right? When you were there in 2013, your team made it too, right? Or were you by yourself that year?
We I was by myself that year. We had made it the year beforehand.
Okay. And what's the contrast like with having your team there, your girls there, versus being by yourself?
It's a completely different experience. I think that as the Northwest individuals, because I had been an individual my freshman year and I was an individual my junior year, like it was some of the same girls, which was cool in itself, but just like so much work goes in with your teammates over the course of a season. So to be able to experience a weekend like that is completely different. But both of them were very exciting and very fun. I wouldn't
Yeah,
discredit either of them, especially because of the success I had as an individual, but both of them were really cool, and I'm glad I got to
yeah.
experience
Cohen
being a
Butler
team
from Camas will
individual.
be there. He's the NXR boys champion from the Northwest this year. So the paper makers are represented this Saturday. And I know that he certainly knows who you are. You're a legend there at your old high school, and I'm sure he'll be trying to um, uh, summon the spirit of Alexa as he's on the starting line.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully he can. Or he'll
Okay.
be like, who is that girl again?
We all know who you are. We'll never forget. Alexa, thank you for giving me some of your time this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you for having me.